Now that you have completed your lead paragraph, you have also done your how and why paragraphs. We're going to move on to the second body paragraphs. That is the second category, and that is your quotes. So you are going to need to get your quotes. Quotes must relate to what you are reporting on. Also, they must be from a person directly involved. No Joe Schmo from down the street or from a whole different place. We need to pull quotes from people that are directly there. Finally, be sure to include who they are and how they are involved. Let's take a look at some examples. All right, this is the one about the ladies at the church that are making the Thanksgiving meals. It starts there at the bottom, the very last line on that first column. It says, "It's not really hard work," said Gretchen Roach, who has been volunteering since the beginning. "It's about the community, and we like to talk as we go," she said. So, who is the person? Gretchen Roach. Yes, this quote is by Gretchen Roach. And what is the quote? There's two parts to this quote. The first part says, "It's not really hard work." The second part of the quote says, "It's about the community, and we like to talk as we go." And the third part here, how they're involved. How is Gretchen Roach involved? In between those two quotes, it tells us that she has volunteered since the beginning. So she is volunteering, making these meals, and she's done this since the beginning, and that's why they asked her some questions and wrote a quote in from her. Okay? Because she's directly involved. So, that is our quote paragraph. There's just one quote in this article about the ladies making the Thanksgiving dinners for the community members. The next one, that is about the boy in the wildfires. As I've said a couple of times, it's a much longer article, so it has a few different people quoted in it, and we're going to look at three. The first one, and I'm going to read both paragraphs here just so you can see the context. Denny said it's a tradition in his household. Denny is Gavin's dad. So Denny said it's a tradition in his household to sort through the toys of his boys. Gavin, 4-year-old Grayson, and 2-year-old Axton. The broken toys are discarded, but other, unused toys are donated to charities. This year, Gavin told us that instead of birthday presents for himself, he wanted to donate his gifts to the children in the burned-out village of Paradise, California. You can see there that Denny, the writer tells a little bit about what Denny was talking to him about, and then it goes on to give an actual quote from him. So who is this quote from? Denny. Okay, and the quote reads, "This year Gavin told us that instead of birthday presents for himself, he wanted to donate his gifts to the children in the burned out village of Paradise, California." And how is Mr. Denny involved? He is Gavin's father. Okay, so he is definitely directly involved in this situation, and his quote was very meaningful in what was happening and going on. All right, let's look at another quote. And as I said, we'll look at three. There was actually, Gavin was even quoted in this article, but I didn't bring that one up. I want to bring up this one. This one says, "When we heard about what Gavin wanted to do, we wanted to help," Walter said. And if you remember from the last slide, or the last video, this was Mr. Walter was actually Gavin's principal. Okay, and so Mr. Walter, and what is his quote? His quote says, "When we heard about what Gavin wanted to do, we wanted to help." And how is Mr. Walter involved? He is Gavin's principal who is helping. Okay? And it was very relevant to have Mr. Walter's quote in there because Mr. Walter is really helping Gavin along by getting the school involved, and they're making flyers and such. So he's definitely going to get more donations and more collections that way. Let's look at this third one. It says, "It is inspiring to see such selfless service in one so young," said Captain Jonathan Gilzo, commander of the recruiting company in Clarion. "Our future soldiers could learn from this young man." So who is the person that is making this quote and saying this? Captain Jonathan Gilzo. The quote, and just like the first example that I gave you from the ladies doing the Thanksgiving meals, this quote is sort of separated. So the first part of the quote reads, "It is inspiring to see such selfless service in one so young." The second part of the quote reads, "Our future soldiers could learn from this young man." And why is it relevant? Why is this man relevant to the article? Because he is the commander of the recruiting company who is helping, pardon my typo there, it should say Gavin, who's collecting the items. So, yes, Captain Jonathan is the commander of the recruiting army base in Clarion, and they are helping him to take these collections. So that is why his quote was also very directly involved. All right. Let's move these ones off the screen here, and we'll look at one last example from the Archie article, Archie the dog that is retiring from the Nutcracker. It says, "Misha Dejuric, the ballet's artistic director and Archie's owner, says Archie is settling down to a life of luxury and long naps on pillows." So who is the person making this quote? Misha Dejuric. The quote, "Settling down to a life of luxury and long naps on pillows." There's another typo, pardon me. I need to read over this. And the last part, how is Misha involved? He's very involved. He's the artistic director at the ballet, and he's also Archie's owner. So he is very involved. Okay? So, when you are getting your quotes and writing your quotes, getting your quotes off your movie, make sure that you are getting quotes off of people that are directly involved in that scene. Okay? And make sure that you are answering these 3 questions. So, you want the person, the quote, and how they're involved. And that's all going to go in that quote paragraph. I'd like you to get 2. If you notice there, on the left side, there's 1, 1, 1, 1s, and then there's squares there with 2s. So I'd like you to pull 2 quotes from your movie scene that fits with what you are reporting. Then on the right side of the paper, I would like you to write them into paragraphs. If you want to, you can separate one of the quotes into 2 parts like they did in some of our examples. But I need 2 paragraphs, 2 quotes from 2 people that are in that scene. If you have any questions about this, just let me know. So go ahead and complete assignment 5 and submit.